Milk. I feel good about this. Hello, and welcome to episode 14 of I Feel Good About This pod. We didn't drop an episode last week, so apologies. We've got 2 weeks of sort of pent up energy to drop today, so hopefully that should be something new and exciting for you guys as sort of a sorry we didn't release an episode. I am very excited to talk about what I'm doing right now, which is I am recording in the afternoon, but because of daylight savings time, it is pitch dark outside. So technically, this feels like an evening show, and I feel like things are going to get sort of darker and sexier. So you're going to want to stick around for that because we just went nighttime, baby. So let's get into it. Episode 14.
Night mode.
Night mode! And here we are. We're at our first segment. I feel good about this week. And the first thing I want to talk about that I feel good about this week is I feel good about rugs being cleaned for my pleasure on TikTok or on Instagram. I'm sure you've seen them. They are reels of absolutely filthy, disgusting rugs, like caked in wet mud and dirt, years and years of sediment on this thing. And you can't tell what it is. You just know it's a big, dirty square in the middle of the floor. You know, there's the guy in like a hazmat suit, and he's pushing and sucking a lot of chemicals into that big, dirty square. And baby, I can't tell you how much I love watching that. It is so calming. I find myself just like waiting for this incredibly difficult job to be finished, to be accomplished. It's like I'm accomplishing something along with the person who is cleaning the rug, which is actually probably like kind of a fucked up thing to think mentally that I have anything to do with this. But I'm gonna take the win because I need it. And I'm gonna pat myself on the back and say congratulations to me and the person who has cleaned the rug. It does leave me with a lot of questions though. First of all, there's like a very, very in-depth process. Like first, I feel like you suck off all the wet mud and then you put on the chemicals, and sometimes it's water, but I think there's chemicals in it, but sometimes they put like this like either green or blue or even red. Sometimes I've seen like this foam on top of it and they suck it off, and then they start to reveal what the rug looks like underneath. So you're like, oh my god, I'm starting to see this rug, like where it came from. And like 9 times out of 10, it's the ugliest fucking rug I've ever seen in my life. It's like a Winnie the Pooh rug or like a Power Rangers rug or like a really big like abstract floral thing that you're like, I would rather die than have that at my home. But you're happy it's clean, and you can kind of understand how it got neglected because it's really ugly. But I will say a question I have for these rug people, because let me tell you, you know, as they say on the internet, you build your own algorithm brick by brick. And brick by brick, I've built this sort of ASMR rug moment. So there's a ton of accounts that pop up on my For You pages or my explore pages, and there are so many fucking rugs. There are so many rugs, and I don't understand why there are so many rugs that are this filthy. Like, what are we doing? Like, are there, okay, so like the first thing that pops in my mind is like, are there that many hoarders that like people are living in like mud? You know what I mean? And the rug that they bought in 1992 for their 6-year-old kid who has since moved out and said, this house is your problem. I don't want anything to do with you. If you need help, you need to call A&E and you need to get Dr. Robin Zazio on the phone to help you clean this out. Because I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't live like this. And you know that their house is like spotless. They like don't have anything in there that doesn't need to be in there. You know, they clean on like an insane schedule because they lived in sort of a hoarder's paradise. And so that's what I'm thinking these rugs are coming from, because like where else do you find the filthiest mud caked rug in the world? You know what I mean? And I don't get me wrong. I know hoarding is a mental health issue, and I'm not in any way shaming those people who go through that because there is tons of shame associated with that, and it is a mental disorder, or I hope I'm using the right word, but there's something going on. You know what I mean? It's not just like I'm too lazy to clean. There's like the we're not the chemicals are imbalanced or something. And again, I am a mental health professional, so it's fine if I say these things. But I'm just, you know, I'm wondering where the rugs come from. Like, I know there's a lot of hoarders, but there can't be this many for the amount of videos I see. So I'm wondering, like, are these accounts just like absolute, like going to the thrift store, buying a bunch of rugs, and just like placing rugs in like a very rainy, wet, foresty part of the world until they get absolutely caked, and then they're ready for their TikTok debut? Um, so if you guys know, if anybody knows anything about this, because let me tell you, this is a podcast, and of course we're very professional, but I haven't done a lick of research into that. So if anybody has, I'd be curious to know. Let me know in the comments, or DM me, because I'm confused about why there's so many filthy, disgusting rugs. And I'm not complaining. It's content that works for me. I just, I'm a person who sort of gets caught in the backstory of things. So I'd love to know if you guys know. Okay, so the second thing I feel really good about this week, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, is I'm thrilled that The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives has come back for season 3. I am a big reality show fan, but this one in particular really gets its hooks in me. And for those of you who don't know about the show, it is a collection of varying degrees of Mormon women who live in Utah and are like part of the same friend group. Although, spoiler alert, they all fucking hate each other, and the target rotates weekly, which is really works for me because I'm obviously landing on a new person to be annoyed with and furious with every episode, which is fun. But they became famous because they started this like hashtag group called Mom Talk, where they did like TikTok dances together during the pandemic. And then the leader of Mom Talk came out and let us know that there was a scandal that we all could bite our teeth into, and they had all been swinging with each other. Now, it has since been debunked that it was everybody on the show and everybody involved in Montauk. Not everybody was swinging, but enough people were, where it was part of a conversation. And I am not Mormon, which may come as a surprise to a lot of you, I'm sure. So I don't know exactly what the rules are, but I'm pretty sure you are supposed to be monogamous unless your husband is allowed to have sister wives. Then that's sort of um, the loophole there, for men only, of course, because what is organized religion if it's not oppressing women? But anyways, that's another podcast for another day. But I love this show because they all like are rooted in Mormonism, but like most of them do not follow like a lot of the quote unquote rules. Like they're drinking both soda, coffee, and alcohol. They are doing like sanctioned like ketamine microdosing, which I don't know what the Book of Mormon said about that, but I can't imagine it looked upon it favorably when you like aren't supposed to drink coffee. You know what I mean? And so I love these girls. They are messy. And the thing that's really great about them is that they're all like between the ages of like 23 and like I think the oldest one is like 32. And she's like, you know, look, like we're not dealing with a ton of emotional maturity. People get married when they're like 18, 19 just so they can bang. And then they have all these children. And then they have these very adult lives where they have to mold and take care of children and like they, own houses and have all of these big responsibilities, but they're so emotionally immature that it gets really messy. So that is a long way of saying that I love that show. And I'm really glad to have it back. One of my favorite moments from this season is when they go to Stagecoach and they run into and meet Lana Del Rey, who is like a huge fan of the show, and she like calls them over and she's like, "Are you guys mic'd up?" And it's like, what is Lana Del Rey about to say? And Lana Del Rey is all of us in that moment. She's the audience. You know what I mean? Because she's an avid watcher. And she asked, I think she's talking to Miranda and Michaela, maybe. I can't remember exactly who she's talking to, but she's like, Whitney, is she friend or foe? Like, is this real? Or she says, is she friend or fire? And I was like, this is exactly what I would fucking do if I met the cast of um, sorry, I the name of the show is very hard for me to remember. In my head, I always call it like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Mormons, which is absolutely not the name of the show. But like, and then I refer to them as Mom Talk, but then it's the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's like it's a fucking mouthful. Anyways, if I met anybody from the cast of the show, I would act exactly like Lana Del Rey. I don't care how big and famous I eventually get. Um, I'm gonna have a sit down and I'm gonna be like, spill the real tea. I want to know what was edited out. I want to know what happened post reunion. I want to know, like, do you guys, is this real? Do you guys actually like each other? Do you hate each other? I mean, and ultimately, my question would be now is like, I want to know what the fuck is going on with Demi. Because as a spectator, as a viewer, I'm going to say it, like, that bitch has lost her fucking mind. I, look, a lot of stuff comes up. She, she's not a reliable narrator because she's lied about a lot of other things. But then she talks about, um, what's his name, like Marziano from Vanderpump Villa, like possibly like sexually like assaulting her or not maybe not assault, but like touching unwanted touch without consent, which is horrible. Of course, we do not want that in any way, and of course, we believe anybody who tells that. It's not like I don't believe her, but there is a moment where I'm starting to feel like she's an unreliable narrator, so I don't know the extent of what it was. And that to me makes me feel gross because I don't want to ever be in a position where I'm like, you're lying about, consent and sexual assault. And I feel like Demi is putting us in that situation. And I need a larger explanation from her. And I wonder if we're ever going to get it. And I don't feel like we are. And we gotta and again, there are other women on the show who have been very, very open and vocal about the difficult times that they have gone through in similar scenarios and really horrible, like childhood sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff. And like, I think that is really, really brave of them to talk about. And it's like this very like tightrope that we're walking with Demi's story because like, of course, we if you're a good person, you believe women when they talk about things that have happened to them because it's so constant. And, any woman knows, yeah, if you're telling me something happened, it fucking happened. And I'm not saying it didn't happen with me, but like there was that incident where she talked about Chase shoving her, but like he literally just touched her and we saw it because it was on camera. So I'm like, what's the deal to me? I don't know. I don't like this and I don't like the position you're putting me in. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about this week. And I'm glad the show is back. I'm sorry to get heavy in that moment, but it's a conversation that is happening. And I think that's important. And again, I will support to me, she says it happened. I believe it. I really do. But I also want her to sort of reconcile with all the other lies that she's told because that to me makes a lot of this in the gray area as opposed to she's done shitty things to people. So, and again, that doesn't absolve you from being able to see justice for unwanted touching and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to hear more from her because I feel like there's a lot we don't know. Okay, so now we are at our second segment called I Don't Feel Good About This week. And for those of you who are not new to the show, you know that I'm a big Kdrama watcher, which is Korean dramas. And if you don't if you don't watch the genre totally, like there's some things about it that are very you can expect from a K-drama. Like there's a standard, right? So there's like 16 episodes. There's usually some sort of love story. It's all different genres, like thrillers, sci-fi, rom-coms, comedy. So there's a lot there, but there's one thing that I have learned, um, and it will always be true in every K drama. And if you have an example where this isn't true, I will be fucking cooped and gagged, because I've been watching K dramas for like 6 years now, and I've literally never not seen this happen. But if there is a virtuous old person on the show, like a wise grandmother or a wise grandfather or an older parent, and they have, spent their lives dedicated to helping other people. Maybe the main character was a ballet dancer and they didn't have a lot of money. So this loving old grandmother spent nights working in a food stall to make money to pay for ballet lessons, but didn't tell her. So you secretly find out later that she did this really nice thing. Or, she donated a kidney. I haven't seen that, but I'm sure it would happen. She secretly donated a kidney, and all these quiet, kind acts of service where you're like, wow, that's a good person who loves so hard. And it's usually someone, um, played by an older actor. And obviously, an older actor in Korea is a 47-year-old masquerading as like a 75-year-old. And the only difference between, her and like maybe the female lead, she's maybe like, 11 years older than the female lead and has like a gray haired wig on and maybe like a cardigan. But you're like, that's not an old woman. That's not an old woman. And that's, and you look it up and you're like, okay, yeah, this actress is 47. And like, honestly, she's had some great plastic surgery. So she looks even younger. You know what I mean? But you're playing like a grandmother. And you really get to love her. She celebrates the main character, supports her in her career, in her entrepreneurship, in her new love, and makes her lots of food and makes sure she's well fed and taken care of. And one thing that you can absolutely know from episode 1, if they're starting to show this woman in that light, or whoever, that bitch is gonna die. That bitch is gonna die. So you have to steel yourself from the first episode when you see a nice old person, because you're gonna say, don't get attached. Don't get attached, because episode 15, there's gonna be a funeral and you are going to be weeping as if it was your own family member who inexplicably collapsed despite looking and appearing very healthy, with no explanation. You wait for episode 16 and say, how did grandma die? How did Halmani die? And it's never there. It's just like, oh, she aged out. She almost turned 50. You know what I mean? And so the K drama producer's like, she's gotta go. And so she dies. There's a funeral. It's devastating. And I just want you guys to know this. Like, if you are thinking of starting a K drama journey, which I recommend wholeheartedly, there are some incredible shows, some of the best shows of my life that I've seen. I want to say, don't get too attached to a kind older gentleman or gentlewoman, because they're going to be dead in 12 to 16 episodes. Okay, so the first thing I don't feel good about this week is, this is something that I have said. It's a phrase that I've said like quite a lot. And I'm uncertain whether I've made this phrase up or I heard someone else say it, or it's like a phrase that people say, because I can't remember hearing other people say it, but I know that I've said it like quite a bit. And it's when you're talking about something being really comforting, like, ooh, like, listening to Adele's voice is like sitting in a milk bath. And that's something that I've said a lot. And every time I say it, I have this internal monologue. Of course, I'm still speaking about the thing that I'm talking about because that train has already left the station, but I'm sort of in here internally being like, why a milk bath? Because, like, honestly, the idea of that is not soothing or relaxing to me. Like, if you think about it, if you really think about it, like, what are you stepping into in your tub? Like, is this whole milk? Is what percentage are we working with? Is this a 2% milk bath, or is this, God forbid, a skim milk bath? And then, like, is this milk bath, is it cold? Because honestly, the idea of hot milk in a bath sounds, forgive me for bringing this, visual, but it sounds like you're like on the verge of curdling and your naked body is in like a hot, curdled milk bath. And to me, that sounds really horrible. This is cow's milk in a bath, hot, along your body. And like, not to get too into it, but I'm not sure what that's doing for my pH, if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, my pH is my vagina, my genitals, and sort of how that responds, and whether that's going to be sort of a yeast infection for me to worry about in the upcoming week. You know what I mean? So I'm just not understanding how this is a soothing, like, the visual is like, oh, I'm stepping into like a lotion bath, which sounds better, but again, you got the whole pH thing. And I also think, like, one thing we're skipping is like the smell of a milk bath. Do you know what I mean when I'm talking about this? It's like, yes, when you grab milk from the fridge, you smell it to make sure it hasn't gone sour every single time, if you're me. I mean, if you're not doing that, like, okay, you probably had a good childhood. But I am always giving that milk a sniff. And like, to be honest, I don't have milk in my house a lot. We're not like big milk drinkers. We're not like 12-year-old kids in like a 90s TV show having like milk for dinner with our steak and peas. Like, I don't usually have a glass of milk. It's like usually an element of something I'm making. So oftentimes, if there is milk in my fridge, it's not being used that much. I'm always giving it a sniff. And even when it's not sour, like, it doesn't like smell good. You know what I mean? I'm not like, ooh, mm, milk. I just am like, I'm not doing that. And so I feel like I want to have that feeling when I'm stepping into a bath, and that's just not something that's happening if I'm stepping into a milk bath. I'm sort of like, oh, milk, So I'm not sure what it is. You want like a nice like lavender or eucalyptus, you know what I mean? A floral or a citrus. You're not looking for like unspoiled milk. So I'm not sure why this is a phrase that we use, or one that I could have possibly made up and like I'm just spreading around, even though I don't believe in it. Sharing information I don't wholeheartedly believe in. So I'm wondering, A, do you guys know this phrase? B, have you said it? And C, are we taking milk baths? I don't think we're taking milk baths, right? And we're doing bath bombs, we're doing bubble baths, but I'm not sure we're all in on the soothing milk bath. Our producer James brought up an idea. I'm bringing you into this. He brought up the idea that a milk bath doesn't have to be just a plain milk bath. We could do a chocolate or strawberry milk bath, which, by the way, sounds even worse. Because then you're adding like the sugary element, which again, I'm returning to the pH of my genitals. I don't want it in there. I mean, again, this is such a recipe for a yeast infection, and, and I think I would prefer chocolate over strawberry if I had to choose. Guns in my head, I don't know who's standing there forcing me to get into a strawberry milk bath, but there are a lot of things that men do to women that we can't explain. So this could be a scenario. So we have to stay ready. And then like after you take the bath too, like you have to clean up. You can't just be like, oh, I've taken my milk bath. No, you have to shower fully afterwards. Because if not, then you're covered in fucking milk, chocolate, strawberry, or regular. And you're like, if you don't like scrub enough or you don't like shampoo, and then you're like out to dinner with a friend and it's a fancy place and you're wearing a black turtleneck and you have your hair back, and then all of a sudden you have a little scratch on your head, so you scratch it and then crusty milk falls out of your hair and it falls all over your black turtleneck and it looks like you're covered in dandruff, but which would be preferable. I'd rather be wiping dandruff off of my black turtleneck and be like, oh, sorry, this is left over from my milk bath, you know? So, again, not a fan. I don't feel good about this phrase. I don't feel good about milk baths. And I need to know if this is something I made up. Okay, so now we are at our final segment. I don't know how I feel about this week. And as many of you know, I took last week off. I have been sick off and on for the last month, which has been a pain in my ass. And on top of that, I actually ended up upping my Ozempic dose, which, you know, anybody who has taken a GLP-1, um, sometimes there are some side effects. And for me, those side effects are like, I get pretty nauseous until I get used to it. Once you get used to it, it's fine. But and as I was starting to feel better, I then upped my dose and didn't think about how the fact that it was going to affect me. So like I was in straight up nausea then. And so I thought, you know, I'm really into traditional Chinese medicine, as you guys I'm sure can assume. And so I was like, you know, I think I should be drinking some ginger tea and had some ginger ale. I was doing the ginger thing, you know, and I was like, does this really fucking work? And it felt like it was more like me sort of being like, you know, the placebo effect. Like, is this psychosomatic? Am I forcing myself to believe that this works so that I feel better? Because I'll tell you what. So 2 days in a row, I threw up in the shower, and the first one, you know, I hadn't eaten anything before. You know, it was first thing in the morning, so it was sort of more of just like a dry heave, as you will, if you will. And for those of you who do know me well and know me personally, if you've seen me brush my teeth, I am really focused on my tongue health. And that means that I've got a tongue scraper and that I'm also getting really fucking in there with my toothbrush and sort of brushing the back of my tongue. And it's sort of my signature, not to brag, to gag a whole bunch while I brush my teeth. My friends love it. They think it's totally normal. When my wife first saw it, she was like, I couldn't be more in love with you. This is the sexiest thing you've ever done. Well, I'm like hovering over the sink going, and you know, it doesn't usually result in anything coming back up. It's just sort of a reaction to sort of getting back there. And I usually have a pretty good hold on it. But you know, when you are experiencing nausea, it's sort of anybody's guess what's going to happen. So that did happen to me in the morning when I was brushing my teeth in the shower. But I hadn't eaten anything, so it wasn't that bad. And part of my journey with you know, the Ozempic effects is remembering that even though I feel nauseous, I will feel better if I eat something and I drink some water. So you kind of have to force yourself to eat through the nausea. And I woke up, made myself a chocolate protein shake, and I was like, good for you, girl. You are taking care of you. You're not letting this this low grade nausea sort of beat you. You're starting your day. You're getting in the shower. It doesn't matter that you're starting your day at 11 a.m. You're unemployed. Who cares when you get in the shower? So I'm heading in, I'm soaping up, I'm washing my hair, I'm feeling okay. Like, I'm glad I ate, you know? I'm glad I did this for me. And then it becomes time to brush my teeth. And in the morning, I like to brush my teeth in a shower, kill two birds with one stone. I guess you're like not supposed to say that phrase anymore. It's like, okay, bird activist. I am getting two things done at once. Look, I love birds, like they're great, but I just like don't think that they're personally offended by that phrasing. Like you kill two birds with one stone. I just don't expect to hear a lot from the birds in response. Anyways, brushing my teeth, and when I tell you, I hadn't even started sort of this tongue scraping and the toothbrushing. I hadn't even gotten there. And all of a sudden, my body was like, projectile vomiting all over the floor of my bathtub. Chocolate protein shake. And in that fucking moment, first of all, I was like, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. When you have to like talk yourself down from like a really vulnerable moment, like I'm fully in the nude, I've got toothpaste all over me, dripping down my mouth and onto my bare chest. Try not to jerk it, boys. And I'm literally like shaking because I just vomited all over the tub. And I'm like, okay, you're okay, you're okay. Just trying, in through your nose, out through your mouth, just really trying to work through it. And of course, it comes in like 3 or 4 waves. And once you finally get it done, you're like, okay, well, I guess I got to start over on the toothbrushing. But first, I gotta take care of this tub and my body covered in vomit. And so thank God I have this on our shower. I take you can like detach the shower head and you can like wash off the tub with the shower head. So I'm like doing that while trying to like keep my balance because I'm weak from vomiting, of course, breathing heavily, just trying to get it all down the drain. Hopefully, just like can start this shower over because truly what I've done has been sort of been made null and void from the projectile vomit. I gotta do it all over again. So finally clean up, get things clean, and make it through, another soap down, another very careful toothbrushing. And I get out of the shower and it's like, I don't think the ginger tea worked. So I'm wondering if you guys have had similar experiences with sort of these like, oh, just drink some ginger, you'll be fine. Like, no, sometimes you're just gonna fucking puke everywhere. So I don't know. Well, I don't feel great about sort of what happened, but I'm still on the fence about ginger. So let me know what you guys think. So that's it. We did it. We did episode 14. Thank you for sticking around with us. I hope you enjoyed it. It got a little disgusting, but I never, ever said that I wouldn't be disgusting in this podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed it if you're a little sicko like me. If you want to keep up with us during the week, and I suggest you do, because we do like a lot of fun things like clips of shows and responding to comments and more clips from shows on social media, you can do that. We'll pepper in some more things to keep it fun. But I'm just saying, like, keep up with us. We're cooking. And we're doing that on TikTok, and we're doing that on Instagram. And you can find us at I Feel Good About This. Obviously, we are still trying to get as many subscribers as possible, 500 being the goal. So if you want to share this with a friend, and I think you should, because a lot of really important stuff is being said in this episode about vomit and milk and all of the things that we're not willing to talk about in our daily lives. I'm doing it here. So subscribe, get a friend to subscribe, and make sure that you've got your comments ready, and you're sort of letting me know how you feel about things, all of that. And we will see you next week for episode 15. Love you. Goodbye. I feel good about this.